Ready to go live on the YouTube. There we go. That. Bada bing, bada boom. There we are, 6 on the dot. Welcome to Triple T number 65. And streaming live on YouTube and all sorts of good stuff. March 28th, 2023. Yeehaw. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for coming back. For all of you on YouTube, welcome back. And if you're wondering why things are looking a little slim today, I got a couple of texts that some people will be joining us late, and also wanted to remind you guys that the participants who do not have their cameras on do not show up in the recording or apparently in the live. So if you're wondering where all those ghost messages and ghost voices are coming from, that's where. Anyhow, my name is TJ Zabel. I lovingly refer to myself as a professional problem solver. And doesn't mean I know everything. It just means that I've learned interesting ways to ask questions, to drill down, to help both of us help you find the answers to the questions you have. If you're on YouTube, please click the subscribe button, ring the bell, and please leave comments. I always like seeing the interaction. I also have a website, theTSWB.com. That's right, thetallskinnywhiteboy.com. I do offer a free 30-minute consult. You can actually send me an email right from the website so we can get together and set up your consult. It is free. And it's a chance for you to spend 30 minutes with me, picking my brain or whatever you want to chit chat about. It's your time. Also, if you have questions for the second hour, please type them into the chat. Doesn't mean that you have to worry about blocking everybody else out. Just means that helps me know that we're going to have something to chat about the second hour without me sitting trying to pull the questions out of you. That being said, anybody got any ahas, epiphanies from the last 7 days they'd like to share?
I have successfully been posting reels on Instagram and on Facebook and on LinkedIn. Very excited. Only missed one day.
How'd it feel to start getting those things rolling out?
I was super happy to finally start. And now every day it's in the forefront of my mind, which is a really good thing, rather than, oh, I'll get to it, because I committed to doing something every single day to the best of my ability. I'm really, really happy about it.
Now I'm curious, are these like spontaneous, or have you pre-written out for the week, or do you get a download of a whole bunch of stuff and just start going, I bet there's a list somewhere.
It's a mix. I have ideas, which I came to the conclusion that those were all topics that I would like to talk more about on the podcast that I'm doing. And then I looked at it this morning and I realized that they were also topics of reels that I could pop into. So I usually pick which one is resonating with me that day.
Yep.
And I will go for that. And it does take a little bit of time, but I find it to be very helpful because it really fine tunes what I want to say. So it's not taking where might have taken a lot longer before for me to sit down and do a YouTube video, but this is actually, it'll take a bit of time, but I'm getting better at it.
Awesome.
Very awesome.
Maybe you can coach me on how to do those. I've had a few people ask me when I'm going to get around to it.
Awesome.
I've got lots of round to it's. I got a whole stack of them. Actually, I've got a room full of round to it's, and some days I just walk in and close my eyes and reach out, grab, and see what shows up. Like, oh yeah, yeah, that round to it's been sitting there for a while.
It's funny. They sometimes get stuck in the attic or the garage, sometimes in the kitchen freezer. You're like, yeah, get around to it.
Actually, it can be quite a challenge sometimes, especially if you've got a ton of squirrels and a ton of round to it's and things you should get to, and trying to stick to priorities. And I've actually found myself on I'm doing a full remodel on an apartment in the shop, and I will bounce back and forth and forth and back and forth between, oh yeah, I got to get that done. But while I'm going to get the tools for that, I see, and then I needed to get that done. And a half hour later, I've gotten nothing done but bouncing around trying to get to the stuff I needed to do with, what was I starting with? Now I'm tired and I haven't done anything.
I know. I find it's comical because there are people who really don't initiate, and then there's people that do initiate, but now they have so much that they want to do that they can't actually land on something.
Yeah, I actually had a dry erase board for a while that I was writing down, adding things that needed to be done, and pretty soon I'm writing little stuff on the inside, and and I'm like, that's 3 months worth of stuff there.
Got to be crossed out. I can't erase it. I gotta feel the productivity in
my yeah. And then I see those people, like I had a tenant in one of the rentals I was taking care of, and he had this 4x8 dry erase board in his apartment. And he had to be an engineer because he had everything broke down and timelines, and I was like, you're very good, yeah. Show me your ways, master.
Definitely.
So we had a few more people pop in. You guys have anything from the week that how's epiphanies you'd like to share before we get the ball rolling? That good, huh? Awesome, cool. Well, if you checked my Facebook postings, came up with a couple of topics for this week, and one is controlling fast talkers, color game therapy, and Shen, golden path. Let's dive right into it. Controlling fast talkers. Oh yes. How many of you have dealt with that person that has the ability and lung capacity for 7 conversations without taking a breath while you're trying to, finally you're just like, they're not having a conversation with you, they're talking at you. And one little trick that I learned was simply go, whoa, wait. Back to the first thing you said. I had a question on it, and you've covered about 8 different things now, but what was that first thing you were talking about? And you'll see the look on their face. They're like, what? the first thing I was, what, I don't remember. Like, well, that sucks because it was good, and I had a question, but I was trying to remember the question and trying to hear all the things that you were saying so fast that now I forgot the question. Maybe if you could slow down just a little bit so that I could have time, breathe. So I could have time if a question arises, if I like this, so I can ask the questions because you covered some really good topics. And I found what that does is it lets them know that you're interested, but it also shows them that if they can't remember the first thing they were talking about, how am I supposed to remember it? Whoa, hey, 5-hour energy doesn't mean you take one every hour for 5 hours. And you shouldn't combine them with other things like, I had a triple latte and a 5-hour energy, and I'm feeling really good, really good, really good. I think I'm gonna mow the lawn with my fingernail clippers right now, and then I'm gonna wash the garage, and then I'm gonna paint it on the inside with a toothbrush. Yes, I think that's what I'll do. Anybody experience people like this? How did you handle it out of curiosity?
It depends on the person for me. So if it's somebody that I'm familiar with and that's their style of talking and that's what they're doing, sometimes it's just best to stand back and be like, oh, okay, that's you just needed me to be the receiver of this word vomit. And then other times, especially if it's with a client or with somebody else who they have a better understanding of, hey, wait, let's talk a little bit more about this rather than rolling. I can interject, and that's a good thing.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Another thing I like to do is when you get a breather or they'll ask you a question, I go, actually, what I meant to say was, actually, when I said so-and-so, what I meant was before, and just before you cut me off, what I was going to say was, another place that I find this is the overactive, bored, had a few too many Javas salesman. Dealt with one just the other day. And pushy, and this is on the phone. And, well, look at there, Zabel. Yes. But was not getting the hint that I wasn't ready. I was like, yes, product is awesome, appreciate it, all the above, but we're not ready. Well, we just want to swing by. And finally, I said, out of curiosity, have you ever pushed so hard that you lost a sale? And he goes, what? I said, I'm just curious. Have you ever pushed so hard that you lost a sale? And he said, well, I don't know. I said, well, you're about to. And he was, it caught him off guard. He was like, well, I said, when you stop and think about what I've just told you, I love the product, used it. Price is fine, not a problem. Not right now is the answer. But if you push any harder, you do have competition that haven't bugged me yet. Sometimes no means no, and this is one of them. And he was like, well, I said, the next minute will be very important to you. I said, I have your number. I know how to get a hold of you when we're ready. Are you ready to leave it at that? Yep. Good answer. Good day. Talk to you soon. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. Anybody else have any ways that they've had to deal with people that just simply on the no, not interested right now?
I've never thought to say to somebody, if you keep pushing, you'll lose the sale. That never dawned on me. I've been firm enough where I've said, no, that's okay, not right now. And they've kind of gotten a hint from the tone that I was using. But that was really, how did he handle it when was he completely taken back?
Without it being a video call, I'm pretty sure he was like, and it was, have you ever pushed so hard that you've lost a sale?
Yeah.
Well, you're about to, just so you know. I mean, yeah. So it's up to you now. Anybody else got anything? Crickets? No. We've all had amazingly wonderful salespeople who have listened exactly to what our needs, wants, and timing was. And
I think that at this point, people don't want to come across as nasty, and other times people don't know how to set the boundary so that they end up being forced into the sale.
Yeah. And one of the worst things for a sale is sending them home with buyer's remorse. That's why values and criteria elicitation and the Macy's effect are so important in sales. I've gotten so much business off of talking people out of what they thought they wanted, or sending them to the competition because I didn't have exactly what they wanted. So, well, this is going to go quick.
Well, you did that with a car dealership, right? At one point?
Yeah. Yeah, the owner got mad at me because he actually heard me send one of the people that was there looking. And the funny part was, the owner was a little ruthless, a little shady sometimes. And he would send his wife out for the ones that looked like a good buy, and then send me out for the ones that looked like they didn't have a dime in their pocket. Yes, I'm not working for him anymore. But the best part was, if you've ever read the book, The Millionaire Next Door, a lot of those farmers up there where I work, they could buy them cars with $100 bills in their pocket. But they were still driving that beat up old F-150 because that was the good farm truck that always started when they needed it to start, And I'd go out and talk to them just like that. And they couldn't understand how I could get away with talking like that to certain people. But yep, guy came in one time and was looking for a car for his daughter. And so I asked all the right questions, and he was looking at a couple of ones, and I knew the condition of the car. And I said, no, you don't want this one. No, you don't want that one either. And I knew that there was a really nice, cute little car that would be perfect for her at a dealership on the other side of town. And I knew the sales guy there. So I called him up, asked if it was still there. He said, yeah. I said, I need a good deal on it, and sent the farmer over there. And the owner of the place came out and gave me a good talking to, because he heard what I did. And I told him we didn't have what the guy was looking for. Well, you could have sold him this. I said, I don't want to do that to a guy like that. It's for his daughter. Lo and behold, I sold 3 other vehicles to the guy cash without negotiating. The guy just came up and he goes, is that a good truck? I said, yeah, it's a really good truck. Here's what I know about it. He goes, how much is it? Told him. He goes, good, let's write it up. I was like, something about he trusted me. I don't know. And then the second time he came back, or the third time he came back, the owner recognized him, and I wasn't working that day. And he sent his wife out, and the guy asked if I was there. No, he's down at the auction today. Okay, I'll be back. Oh, no, I can help you. No. What day does he work? Well, no, I can help him. He's like, yeah, I heard you the first time. But the question was, what days does he work? Well, he'll be back tomorrow. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Got in his old truck and drove off. Next day he shows up, and the wife ran out to meet him, and he chatted with her, and then he said, well, hold on just a sec. I see my man inside the office there, and walked right past her, and we chatted, and I said, how you doing today? He goes, let's talk. So we went outside, and same thing. Is that a good car? Hey, you don't want that one. Good. Which one would you recommend? What are you looking for? Who's it for? What do you need? Da 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 da. I said, that'd be a good one over there for you. All right. You want to drive it? No, I trust you. Walk in, $100 bills. Bing, 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 bing. So again, sometimes sending people across town is one of the best things you can do.
Like that little tagline.
Huh?
I like that little tagline. Sending people across town is one of the best things that you can do.
Yep.
Very speed of trust. Also.
Yep, exactly. The other nice thing was I also dodged a bullet on one of them because they wouldn't listen to me, and they came in, and this was another couple, and they were looking for a minivan. And at the time, there was one called a Ford Aerostar, and it was built on a Ford Ranger drivetrain, rear-wheel drive. It was good for what it was, but in Minnesota winter, not so much. Well, that was the only one we had, and I talked him out of it. Owner heard it. That was another one of our little, I needed a discussion about selling what we have. and they went across town, couldn't find anything. They came back, and the owner saw him come back, and he went out and talked him into it and sold it to him. And they didn't let it warm up and blew out the transmission right away. He had to put a transmission into it. Then they came back because they couldn't tow their trailer with it. He didn't ask them if they were what they were going to use it for. They were trying to tow a big trailer with that thing. Didn't work so well, and they came out and ripped him a new one. And I was like, yeah, too bad we didn't send him across town.
Felt like that just kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, well, that's a little, that right there was a little side squirrel jaunt into values and criteria elicitation, and taking the time to get to know your customers, whether it's a car or a house or anything. Could be a blender. That's why I tell the story about the Macy's effect. Any questions, ahas, epiphanies, input on that?
Hey, TJ.
How you doing, Savo? Good to see
I'm
you.
doing great. It's so good to see you after all this time. It's interesting. I just joined and you're talking about cars. Like, oh. That's so interesting. Hey, we missed you at the last seminar. There was some old crew and we all talked about you and some of the techniques you invented, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, that's just really something that I thought about as you were sharing your story about people who you referred to someone else because you were being honest. And being in car business for over 10 years, I've noticed that when you really just listen to them and ask questions like listen to their values, what's important to you, etc., and then you repeat those words, they feel very much heard. But also when you repeat, then you understand them better. And then one thing that I realized recently, TJ, and something that really changed my career for better a couple of years ago, is that you really want to do the right thing for you, because your unconscious mind is always listening. And when you're congruent and you do the right thing, like you said, well, if you guys are not interested, if you know, there might be something else out there better for you. And then he comes buying 3 cars from you because he trusts you. But then you build that incredible trust. And it's just when you show up, people know that you're trustworthy, just like Jesus showed up and he said, follow me. And he didn't explain everything. They just, because of all that he was, that he didn't have to say. And I think when you like listen and you're really honest, then you really don't have to say much, but your unconscious knows, and you're convinced, and therefore they're convinced, because these feelings just transmute. And that's what the sales, in a nutshell, that's what I believe about sales. It's really the transfer of these feelings. And when you're certain about yourself with every cell in your being, and you're saying the truth, they know.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Glad you're here. Another thing that just popped up, little squirrel, is objections most of the time are actually hidden questions or hidden needs and wants. And if once you get good at recognizing this, and you can ask them, you know, so out of curiosity, if there was anything that you could change about the closest one that we've seen so far, what would that be? oh, I don't like the color. Okay, oh, so it's the color. So if this could be any other color than what it is, what color would you choose and why? And sometimes they're just looking for a way to buy some time. Or they'll be like, well, I've always liked blue. Okay, blue. And if what's another alternate color if it couldn't be blue? Well, and then all of a sudden you start realizing that there's like 4 or 5 other colors other than red. And I've asked them, so what exactly is it about red that you hate? Well, my ex had this red car that they loved, and you're like, oh, so the car reminds you of your ex. I get it now. Yeah, we're not going to sell you a car that reminds you of your ex. So, or, the price. Well, okay, so if there were a way to, what would you be willing to give up to reduce the price at this point? What? Well, we can find other options that have less, would you be willing to give up the quality? If we found you one that's a little cheaper made to save a few bucks, would that be where we would like to start? Or if I found one just like this, but it didn't have, the premium stereo system in it, and it's another way to drill down into values and criteria. And all of a sudden they start going, well, no, I really want them. I don't want to go down in quality. And yeah, I don't want a cheaper version of that either. And I don't want to give that up. So you see the value in the price then. Well, yeah. Okay. So, and it's not that you're trying to push them into the sale. It's helping them understand what it is that's holding them back. And again, if you find that they are true to their values and criteria and your product does not fit what they're looking for, then both parties know. We've done the research, we know where we're at, and this is not a fit. And I'm not going to push my product on you simply because it's my product. Does that make sense? Yes, Lenora.
In understanding values and criteria and really just kind of opening my mind to it, I used to think constantly that they just want my money, that it was just, they want my money. And it wasn't about being of service. It was only about closing the deal. And I never thought that it was just my own perception. It never came into my own questioning for, God, ages, until I really started to understand, as I'm selling, I'm working to be of service. It's not about closing the deal and it's not about the dollar, but truly figuring out if we're a match for each other. And that really completely reframed my entire perception of sales and being of service. And I think, unfortunately, the term sales comes with a negative connotation versus being of service comes with a completely different connotation.
And I'm so glad you brought it up that way, because that is a major challenge right there in your sentence of sales. Oh, you're going to try and force me into, oh, you're going to make me, oh, you're just trying. The amount of times that I was accused of trying to pad my commission at some of the jobs, I was a I was an assistant manager for a Tires Plus location. It discount tires, all the big chain tire store. And because I started turning wrenches, hanging out in the mechanic shop when I was 11, I had a really good understanding, knowledge of vehicles. And we had so many people come in and, well, I just want 2 tires. And you go out and you look at their car and the brakes are toast. Shock absorbers are gone. The connect, you know, and I'm like, I need to show it. You're just trying to make more money. I'm like, I'm trying to keep you from killing yourself or some of my friends and family that are on the same road as you are. And I'm not going to tell you to buy the most expensive replacement parts. I'll show you what the average costs are. If you can't get that, at least go for the minimum. They won't last you near as long, but at least they'll be safe. And 2 times I actually I paid to have their passengers driven home by a cab, because I would not allow the passengers to ride in that vehicle from my shop. I said, I can't stop you from leaving here in this vehicle, but I can make sure that your passengers make it home alive. And that was the strongest message I could give them. And I had one of them come back and thank me later. And we did some, they actually came back and said, is this car worth fixing? And I was like, the amount of money that it would take to get this thing safe again is a good down payment on a used car. And I know a couple of dealers. And so they went and got a different car because theirs was the fact that they were on the same highway as I was like, and that's where some of those videos come from now. In fact, I'll do a little plug for the YouTuber This Just In, Customer States. If you know anything about cars, Sava, have you seen that at all? This Just In, Customer States on YouTube. It will totally crack you up. You don't even have to be a veteran mechanic or a total car enthusiast to watch some of these and just go, the what? The what? Customer states, car won't start after they change their own oil, except they forgot to take out the old oil and they put in 4 gallons of oil. They topped off the motor until they could see it at the top of the engine fill. No bueno. Customer states, hearing rattling under the car, and they had lowered the car so low that it was dragging constantly on the road, and they shaved the muffler and the axle. Customer states, vehicle feels a little wobbly going down the road, and the frame was rusted in so many places that they could take the back of the car and shake it, like, that kind of stuff. I wish I would have videotaped some of the stuff that I had seen, and it would have been on that show. I know, squirrel, here we go, bing, bing. And people are going, you still have two things that we chimed in to hear about, and we didn't know this was going to be automotive hour. So anyhow, let's move on to the next one. Color game therapy. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I had a request for this because I had talked about it a little bit with somebody out in public yesterday. They have a 6-year-old who has some phobias and is very active and has a tendency to have minor scrapes, bruises, ouchies, and boo-boos. And so I taught Mom the color game therapy. And I learned this from Dr. David Snyder and have used it extensively. And I know I've talked about it a couple of times on Triple T, but I told her I would talk about it again so that there would be a recording so that she could have her husband listen to it so she didn't lose anything in translation. The quickest way to describe it is works really good on kids. Works good on adults that are open-minded, but kids don't understand that it's not supposed to work. Adults just, that's too simple, that can't work, until it does. And then they're like, well, how does that work? I mean, that shouldn't work. But I'm like, but it worked, right? Well, yeah, then stop questioning it and trying to undo it. And the best example, your kid comes in, they're crying and they're holding their knee and you're like, what happened? Oh, I fell down, I hurt my knee. And you go, okay, all right. And I like to start it with, the worst part is over. You survived. The worst part is over. Now close your eyes and point to the center of where it hurts the most, point to the middle of the pain. And most psychologists and stuff would be like, no, you don't make them focus on the pain. Here you want them to. Touch, point right where it hurts the most. And then you ask them, what color or colors of energy is inside the pain? And it doesn't matter what color they come up with. And I did this in a grocery store. I've told the story a number of times, about 6 months ago now. And you know how you're in a grocery store and you hear a child start to cry. Yeah, I saw that look. And you're either like, oh, or they've got that cry where you're just like, oh, really? Okay, Mom, I'll give you $30 if you shop tomorrow. Just take the kid out to the car and go home. But this kid, now stop typing. Yes, I know. I've dealt with, even though I don't have any children of my own, I've raised enough of them and I have dealt with screaming children in public. But this one was crying and it wasn't I didn't get my favorite cereal. It was pain cry. And doing what we do, anytime, anywhere, for any reason, beeline straight to the kid. And here's this little girl in the shopping cart crying. And I walked up to the parents and I said, excuse me, is it okay if I help her? I do this for a living. And they give me this look like, what the what? I said, does she know her colors? They're like, yeah. I said, okay. So being 6'4", I hunkered down a little bit so I could be eye to eye. And I said, can you point to where it hurts? And she looks up at her parents and they're like, well, she's not crying right now. And I'm like, she touched her jaw, and her mom goes, she was at the dentist. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need to know the story. I said, close your eyes and touch where it hurts and tell me what color energy is in there. And she's like, icky green. Oh, icky green. Yeah. Yeah, that's a sucky energy. What color or color energy could you put through that icky green to make it go away? She goes, blue. Again, color doesn't matter. I said, breathe that really good blue energy through that icky green until that icky green is all gone. And you can visibly see her level dropping. She just, and her breathing was slowing down, and you could see the pain coming off her face. And I said, good. Now, out of curiosity, what color or colors could we breathe through there to make it feel even better? Pink? I went, pink, that's a great color. Breathe pink energy right through the center of where that icky green used to be until it feels even better. And so she was breathing, and within, I know it only took a minute, 90 seconds at most. And she went from crying to a little grin on her face. I said, good. Now open your eyes and notice how good you feel. She opened her eyes and she was like, and she looks up at her parents, and her parents are looking at me like, what the? I stood up and I said, there, she's better now. Have a good day. And I looked around, there was like 5 people watching because they all heard her crying. And then they're like, what the heck is he doing? She is not crying anymore. She is smiling. What the? And I just grab my cart and I walk off. And you know how when you're shopping, you always cross paths in the aisles. And I crossed paths with them 2 more times. And she was still smiling. And her parents thanked me big time. They're like, how do you do that? I went, it's something I can teach you guys how to do it if you missed it on my live demonstration. Gave them my card. They haven't called back, but it was just another reminder of how easy this is. And I ain't gonna lie, sometimes even I'm like, inside you're like, wow, that worked, but you don't want to say that because the other person be like, I mean, it's not supposed to. So any questions, comments, epiphanies on that? I know some of you have heard this a number of times. Lenora?
I often don't go up to people because I understand the power of it. I understand the technique of it. I can't just go up to people and be like, hey, how's it going? Do you mind if I step in here? So bravo to you. Hats off.
Well, I hate seeing people suffer. That's why I do this. And I know that it's so quick and effective, and it costs me nothing other than a couple of minutes. And I know the rest of the store was like, do you hear that? Silence. Huh, wonder what happened. They must have left. Another thing to point out, it also works on emotional pain. So if your kid comes in and they're crying and you're like, what's the matter? Bobby said I was icky, I had a dodo head. And they're like, oh yeah, dodo head. All right, close your eyes, point to where you feel it. It's right here. What color is it? It's black. Oh, okay. What color makes black better? Oh, white. Breathe white energy through it till it's all gone. Okay. Off they go. And you're like, what the? All right, cool. Well, as long as they're not crying and hurting and all the above. So that's the quick slam bam on color game therapy. Any questions before we move on to the next topic? No? All right. Well, next one, Shen. And I know some of you are like, Shen? Shen or later?
I'm wildly excited to hear about this one.
I'm going to be flat out honest. Dr. David Snyder knows this stuff a million times better than I do. In Chinese medicine, Shen is the energy, the life force inside. And for the people that understand that, one of the things that I love about understanding it is its correlation to golden path. And that's the one that I know the best. So I'm going to stick to that portion of it and do some more research, and maybe I can share more later. But when you get somebody talking about what they do and they are doing what they are supposed to be doing and they love it and enjoy it, you will see the energy from their face, from their eyes, just light up. Like somebody turned on a light bulb. Another thing, you get them talking about things that they love, people that they love, family when they love their family. I hacked into this unknowingly when I had my photography studio, because there's that natural phenomena, especially noticeable when you are a photographer, to where when you are talking to people, they're fine. And as soon as you bring that camera up, and they oftentimes don't even recognize they do it, or they'll have this amazing smile, and as soon as you raise that camera up, they go from, because somebody told them at one point in time that they had a stupid smile, or they had a bad picture. We've all had a bad picture taken of us, and somebody made fun of it. And they anchored a bad link to having their photo taken. All of this to wrap around to Shen, where I would get them talking about something that they loved while I'm still holding the camera here. And what I did was I would make sure that it was lined up and in focus, and then I would just be talking off to the side. And I've got a beautiful picture of my grandmother right there, who hated having her picture taken. Ooh, nope, nope, nope. But I got her to sit down, got everything right, told her where I wanted her to look, and she's like so stiff and rigid. And I said, Grandma, how many grandkids you got now? Took the picture. That's all I said. There, great one. She goes, what? She didn't even realize I'd taken the picture. I just got her thinking about her grandkids. and the Shen. And some people ask, how can you acquire more Shen? And I know that there are ways. I'm hesitant to talk about it because I don't feel that I have enough exposure to it yet. But I know that some of them are find a job that is in your golden path. Do what you're supposed to be doing, do what you love, be around people that bring that energy out in you. Be wary of energy vampires. We've talked about them before. And I've referred to Golden Path a couple of times, and some of you are like, what? Lillian Pearl Bridges is where we learn Chinese facial reading from. Great book. If you get a chance, definitely buy it. If for no other reason, just to check it out, research it, and start looking at pictures of your families and friends, and you'll start seeing all the little details because you know their life history. But Lillian also taught Golden Path as in what should you be doing in your life. And a number of people could mistake it for, well, what kind of work should I be doing? She goes, well, it's not what job you should be applying for. It's what area or what type of field you should be looking at. And what you would do is you would take jobs, hobbies, things that you've done, things that made you happy, and list them all down, and then look for the common thread between all of them. And even in the jobs that you didn't like, when you've got everything listed out, even in the jobs you didn't like, you could see where that thread flowed through. And once you have that picture, it tells you what you should be doing. Make sure that you're on your golden path, because when you're on your golden path, your Shen just, and you will also get energy, abundant energy to do those things. Whereas there are other tasks that, there's always those certain tasks around the house, around the property, in life, whatever, that suck your energy. You got to do them. But man, 2 hours of doing them and you feel like you just put in 10 hours of grinding, grueling work. But when you're on your golden path, there are certain jobs that you can be dead tired, didn't sleep for squat. But when you show up, you suddenly have all the energy you need to do it. For me, it's teaching, service, fixing, entertainment, that multiple threads, but all the way through life, fixing, being of service to others, teaching, and entertainment. And I can be dead tired. When I was DJing, I was definitely on my golden path. I did some DJ shows with a full-on migraine. And nobody knew. When I had my photography studio, I did 3 sessions with a full-on migraine. And actually got a lot of referral business from it because I showed up and they're like, "Hey, you're here. Oh, what's wrong with you?" And I'm like, got a splitting migraine. Well, but we can do it another time. I'm like, no, the weather is perfect. The lighting is perfect. And you guys drove a long way and I respect your time. So if you will be patient with me, I will do my best. And those photo shoots turned out amazing, if I may say so myself. They told me enough times to where I figured that they must feel that way. But when I look back and understand Shen and Golden Path, I was on my golden path, even though I was in a very stressful environment, which gave me the migraines. But the Shen, the golden path portion gave me the energy to do it. Anybody, any input, questions, ahas, epiphanies on my interpretation of Shen so far? Well, I wish I could get up and give a full seminar of the history and all the above, but I'm going to be honest and make sure that I keep it proper. I will. It interests me enough, and I wish there are a few people. I know that Holly, if she said she couldn't make it tonight, Holly would be, not Hollywood. Our friend Holly also knows quite a bit about Shen and could share quite a bit. But that brings us 2 minutes into the second hour. And for those of you that are here for the first time or watching on YouTube or watching the recording, the second hour is open mic, open platform. And I take a little step back and I let you guys ask a question. And anybody that is on the chat gets to answer first, and then I follow up with my answer. And as I asked earlier, if you have questions, you can toss them into the chat quick. Lenora said, can we talk about mirrors? Yes, I think they're a great way to make sure that everything is looking good. Sometimes you can use them to signal people. She's like, that is not what I'm talking about. Cars have a couple of them. Why is the rear view mirror so small and the windshield so big? Because you're not going back that way.
You started talking about Shen and like my system was like, oh, let's yawn in great excess and burp.
Well,
when it comes to mirrors and open to great interpretation. So as we move about the world is reflecting back to us. Now, how deep does that go? I don't understand it as much, and I would like to have a better understanding of it, because if I'm thinking something and I'm in alignment and I'm thinking positive thoughts and things are going well, and then I get into a conversation where somebody else is coming up with something that is not in alignment and that is rattling me, is that an indicator that A, I'm in alignment, and how do I navigate through that? So any insights on mirrors would be greatly appreciated.
okay, kids, who wants to join in and answer that for her? Now, not everybody go at once.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Linda would have something here.
Okay. Well, if you guys don't have anything for her, one of the things that I've learned, especially with what you described about where you know yourself, and then somebody comes along and something about the being around them or something that they say brings up some energy in you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm describing it that way on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times that is an internal issue that is inside of us. It's interesting because you can have days where you can run into 15 different people. Each one is, excuse me, each one is having their own issues. And you can feel a whole gamut of emotions and feelings and responses to that. And then all of a sudden, one of them just, and if you had the opportunity and the insight to dig in, that's where you'll find one of those little anchors, little issues inside that was mirrored to you. Something about yourself that bothers you the most, whether you are cognizant of it or not. The more you start to realize that and have the ability to keep track of, why did that set me off? What was it that set me off? You know, so much of us just kind of idle through life, and we don't pay attention to what takes our moods and our energy and shifts them. We just know that I was in a good mood up until so-and-so showed up, and then
Literally.
and we blame it on the person as a whole, rather than step back and analyze, well, what was it that set me off? Is it the person because they're just this floating cloud of black energy that sucks us into the vortex? Or were they complaining about something that resonated with us? And if so, what was it and why? And it's a good way for self-introspective. Anybody else got anything they want to toss in now that I've opened the door?
I
Yeah.
would like to add something whenever possible.
I love how all of a sudden now it's like, so let's ladies first. Linda, quick.
I was fooling with the puppy, so I only kind of half heard the question, but and there she is. She's throwing a little hissy fit. She'd like to be outside of her containment. So did you ever walk into a room where the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife? You just walk into the room and you immediately know, that's a bad vibe. Or you walk into a room, somebody's there and they're positive and it's just a place you want to be. Well, that's just an example of the kind of energetic state that it's really easy to feel, really easy to identify. But we walk around in that energetic state all day long, whether we know it or not. and whether other people perceive it or not. All right, I'm gonna get up, walk to the room. What happens is our state, I think, attracts and stimulates a response from all kinds of people, and not just people, but also situations. So it's funny how, like, when you're having a bad day, nothing ever gets right. You know what I mean? It's like no matter what happens, everything goes badly. And I think that anybody who's been in business knows that occasionally you have the situation where for this one particular person, nothing can go right. Right? I mean, everything just goes wrong for that one person. And I think that what's going on there is actually a mirror. And I think that the universe doesn't have any choice other than to reflect back to us what our energetic state is. And I could go on at some length as to, you know, why I think that is in terms of science. But I really do believe that that's the case. It's not just that other people pick up on it and respond to it and meld to it. And I'll tell you, I'm really, really guilty of that. I've many times caught myself responding to somebody in some odd way that I don't really understand why I did it. And what I came to in the end was that I pick up their vibration and respond to it without even knowing that I picked up the vibration, if that made any sense. So I'm mirroring their emotional state subconsciously. So it's like their subconscious and my subconscious had this little agreement, and they came in like this, and I'm like, okay, I'll match that, I'll help you out, you know. And then I mirror and match, or whatever it is that needs to fill that, you know, that energy attraction point. So I've probably just confused the whole situation tremendously, but we do meld our own reality. And I've had a couple of episodes recently that really pointed that out. Yeah. I think that what happens is the universe responds to us, other people respond to us, situations develop in front of us. We create our reality to a very large degree. And I think that we don't notice it, we don't realize it, we don't understand it, because we're not accustomed to perceiving and adapting the energy around us to us. We have a tendency to think that we're adjusting ourselves to the energy. And I think that to a large degree, that's not true. I think we adjust the energy around us. And then other things, you know, fall into place and fall into line with that. So I don't know, did that come anywhere close to answering the question, Lenora?
Awesome insight. Thank you so much, Linda.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope it helps. I don't know if that was confusing or not.
It's super helpful. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Zabel.
Hey guys. So one of the things that I find really helpful with personally and with my clients is just becoming something called mindful. And it's nothing like the word sounds, mindful. It would imply literally that mind is full of something. In fact, you kind of want to be aware and empty your mind and listen to your body. All the feelings are stored in the body. So as you're talking to someone, you might be talking to someone that you really care about. And they say, what happens if your best friend comes to you and by accident they pour poison in your coffee? Well, most likely it's not going to be a good outcome for you. But what happens if your enemy comes by and by accident they just pour sugar in your coffee? Your coffee will be sweeter. And so, well, regarding that, you might be talking to someone who is, let's say, someone you know for a long time, but maybe they're talking about someone else and they're talking about them in a bad way. So some sort of gossip. And if you imagine yourself talking to someone, they gossip about someone else, and you might have a good feeling inside of you. But well, it doesn't really mean that's what you're after, because your intention might be not to put someone else down, but as they put someone else down, you might see or feel or notice a smile on your face, and then you might question that good feeling. And without digging too deep into the rabbit hole, if you question that feeling, you notice where the feeling is, and you say something like this: if this feeling had ability to speak, what would it say? And that feeling might say, well, I feel better because I don't really feel so good about myself. So if I bring someone else down, I feel a little better. And so that's like something about people that gossip. I just totally came with a random example. The opposite can be true too. So sometimes you might feel bad feeling. Let's say there is this situation where, let's say a parent, if some of you are maybe have kids, or we all were kids at one time. And so let's say parents yell at their kids. They yell really bad. They're so mad, and they go, you shouldn't do that, because they had really bad day at work, and they yell at their kids. And so now kids feel guilty, but maybe kids feel something we call in psychology unhealthy guilt, because this guilt turns into shame, and there is nothing they can fix to feel this guilt. And the parents on the other side, they feel healthy guilt, because this guilt can, and there is a reason why guilt is there, because they can fix a behavior. And so the guilt can come in a way that, yes, I feel guilty, but it's good that I feel that, because this feeling is letting me know there is something I can correct. And this is just the tip of an iceberg, because as we start to listen to feelings, there might be one feeling or more feelings at the same time. And there is always a reason why we feel that, because our unconscious mind is like a tape. It records the whole life. And it's like, let's say, a dark room, and everything is just dark. You can't see it. You can only be aware of something. And that's like a flashlight. You point the flashlight, and that's your conscious mind. So if you bring that flashlight and you shine the light onto what's going on in the moment, because your whole life really unravels in the moment. There is no present, because it's no past, because it's gone, and the future is yet to come. So you can only change things now as they're happening. So to answer that question, to kind of like close this loop, and just with that word mindfulness, becoming aware of what is going on and why is that happening, what's the cause. If you know, understanding is the power. So once you understand, that allows you to look into it and to change, because you can't change something unless you know, or you cannot hit the target unless you know where the target is. So let's say you go shooting, and so let's say you just shoot randomly. That's really, you're a dangerous person. That will probably not have you around for a long time. But if you know where the target is, and if it's safe, so then you would most likely be able to hit the target, or at least calibrate so that you can hit it with time better and better as the time goes on.
Awesome.
That's that.
I'm so glad you're on the call, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
Anybody else? Or do we have a new question? Or? Yes, Fran, please.
I'm just trying to work out how to put my question into words. It's kind of related to the last two topics. So, no, I'm sorry, I haven't got the words. I'll come back later.
It doesn't have to be eloquent. You can mash them up and unless somebody else
jump in the middle. It's actually sort of about people and friendships and Shen and emotional energy and how we respond to people. Two things. I had a dear friend come and share a meal with me the other day, And she must have been in a really bad place because she was just complaining about everything to the point where I felt like I couldn't be in the same room with her. And I, trying to change the subject and say, let's talk about different things wasn't working. How to energetically and Shen wise deal with that. And the other aspect is a friendship that I thought was developing in one direction, and it was becoming really fun and helping me look at the world in a different way. And that hasn't gone in the direction I would have liked. And so I've kind of changed that friendship. But the Shen aspect, I want the Shen without the person. So who can help me with those two topics, please?
Okay, kids, who's got something for our dear friend Fran?
I'll pop in. When it comes to friends that come over for dinner and they come in a bad place, one of the things that pop into my mind is from Abraham Hicks when they're saying, it's okay, it'll be over soon, because you're in it and you can't do anything about it. And trying to, and I think naturally you and I are very empathic, and we really want to, I'm pretty confident everybody on this call really wants to help and support. So this other part of our brain starts firing, and then you have to tiptoe because it's a friend, and now you're trying to help them in a sincere way, and they might suddenly start thinking, don't treat me like your clients, or whatever the case may be, and you're sincerely trying to help. So it does get a bit murky, and especially in those moments, the only thing I can often think is, I'll do the best that I can and it'll be over soon. And just that time is on your side. And it sounds kind of shitty, but it's also a way to accept it, because when they start to push against you and don't treat me like so-and-so, okay, I got nothing for you then. I can't, because I'm sincerely trying to help you and I can't because you won't let me. So now I'm just the dumping ground for your energy. Yeah. As for the other component, so to have that energy without that person, I would still be open to enjoying that energy in whatever way it shows up. So it's not with that person, that's okay. They might not have been the king that you were wanting. So they might have been a really good 10 or a really good jack, but still looking forward to it and enjoying those moments. And sometimes if you just enjoy that moment of being with somebody in that energy, it will continue to build. So whether it sounds strange to like change the face, but if you just enjoy the moment, like, oh, that was a nice moment, that might help bring on that energy that you're wanting, because it's the energy and the feeling that you're wanting, not necessarily the person. Those are my thoughts.
Awesome.
Yeah, that really covered a lot of it. Thank you. Yeah, that's good stuff. And with color, I mean, TJ, color works with that sort of thing as well. How can you use color in these situations? Somebody needs to vent, dump, and all this yucky color.
Before the squirrels run off with the answer for the other two that you brought up, I want to throw out there real quick. Part of why I do the wait date protocol with people is this is your time to test, analyze all men around you and figure out Why does he bring that out? Why does this married, single, whatever? What is it about this person that brings these feelings out in me, good or bad? Why is that important to me now? Because you're reestablishing, rebuilding your values and criteria today, so that you're not utilizing a set that you built in your teens or after a certain breakup or whatever, and then realize you're dating the same person in a different meat suit. So with this, write down what it is, what was it about that person that brought out the Shen? What was it about the person that kept them from being a king? So that you start broadening, like Sabo so well put it, turning your flashlight into a much broader light. It's all about researching and establishing things that you notice. And that's why I say, pay attention to married couples, singles, all the above. Be around as many people doing as much stuff as you possibly can. One thing you may find out, start trying things that you would have never tried before because people are there. And it may not be the activity, but it may be the person that showed up for that activity that brings out something in you that you didn't anticipate. And just like with this person, where you're like, I love the energy, I love the Shen, but the vessel that brought it, not so much. And learning to feel that. And you asked about color. Oftentimes I will have my clients establish an avatar from all of the things that you've put into your list about your king. What they are, what they're not. Here's everything about my king, pluses and minuses. Then you create an avatar of that person, and you pay attention to what color of energy, what color or colors of energy do they have, and what color or colors of energy do they produce in you. Because when you were with that person, you described that they created a Shen in you. What color was that energy? And all of a sudden, when you get in tune with that, you may bump into your king out in public and all of a sudden recognize, go, ooh, oh, I know that color. Excuse me, sir. I got a question. Out of curiosity, where did you get those boots? Is there anything you don't like about them? Can we just talk about random stuff for a while? Because I'm trying to figure out if you actually have this energy or da 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 da. And we got a hand up, Lenora.
My brain's going off like a Christmas tree over here. So even when TJ had mentioned about going on dates and looking out at other couples, I also thought looking out at movies, and especially if you like romantic comedies or if you're really drawn to a couple in a movie where they have really great chemistry. One thing that I heard recently on Instagram was when it comes to feminine energy and masculine energy, and I know Maurice is over here like with his ears perking up because he's very well versed in this topic. Masculine energy is like a glass, literally the glass that we drink from. And feminine energy is the liquid, because we have the fluidity, whereas the safety of a masculine energy and that strength might be something that you're more drawn to. And to notice what it was about this person that you had somewhat of a connection with. What was it? Especially because when you notice it, was it more heart-based? Was it lover-based? Was it more brain-based? Where was that energy? And then even exploring more in it. And one thing that I don't know why, in my 20s, I was a little naive, and I would think that these answers would just come to me like, boom, 5 seconds, and I'll suddenly have all the answers. It's not so much. So there's much more of an evolution of it. So if you almost sit with it and explore it and study it, and what did I like about this chemistry? What was it about this person? What did I like in that movie? And going out on dates and really almost bringing all these ingredients together to create this exquisite thing that you're so looking forward to enjoying.
So generating from just being, or generating from here now, today, there's nothing particular going on. How can you build up your Shen so that you can just sort of bring it out at will, just because?
Go ahead.
I was like, I don't know. For me, so this is what I've noticed lately. When my thoughts are not carefully tended to, my energy is different. When I am wanting to be in a specific energy, I almost have to take it out for coffee or really explore it in and take those 15, 20 minutes and imagine this experience that I'm wanting to feel, whether it's a memory or it is something I'm looking forward to, but to get in that energy. And when I do it, then I notice so many more things line up because I took the time to focus in on it. But it's one of those things where for me, I need to quite literally acknowledge where I am, and I have to massage and move myself forward to where I want to be. It's not just like, oh, I had this thought, but my neural pathways might not be as trained. So
Zabel.
Hey. One of the things I really like how you describe that, and some things I would like to add if that's okay with you. So one of the things that helps me get in the state is, or change the energy, which is really, they say emotions is energy in motion. And that word motion means a lot. When we change the way we stand or sit or move, it has a very powerful impact. And so I'm just gonna, I don't know, TJ, if you talked about one of your techniques on that I use until I use it nowadays quite a bit with my clients, and that's when you lift your hands up and then you go, why is this going to be a great day? And then your brain comes up with cause effect, and there is complex equivalence, and there is a loop where it starts to loop you upwards. And then if you introduce something like movement, and that can be as simple as yoga movement, or it can be simple as dance, and it can be, some people just like to put a smile on their face for no reason at all. And then yes, remembering pictures in things that happen that make you feel good is really important, because you teach yourself to shine the light on positive things, which really propels you to have more of a propensity to do so in the future as they happen. Then you acknowledge, hey, I feel good today. Because otherwise people have this constant need to delete, distort, and generalize informations, and they distort and delete a lot of happy moments, and that's because brain keeps us safe, and it's designed to make us survive rather than just make us happy. So it's our job to keep ourselves happy. And I like when I see a smile on someone's face. There's a bunch of neuroneurons that just kind of like let you know, hey, I can smile too, and I'm safe to smile and to feel good, sort of speaking. And other ways, I mentioned movement, and sometimes that, I think, if I can really sum it up in a nutshell, there's ways to change the voice, to change the pictures. There's different things that affect our feelings, but really, if I can just do one thing, I would say movement. And right before that movement, there is something, probably something that keeps people stuck for years sometimes, and it's the understanding of, if you say, I'm trying to get myself from a bad state to a good state, it's different than if you say, hey, there is something negative here, and maybe there is a message for me. Then you listen to that part of you. It's almost like you go back to your inner child, sort of speaking, and say, I hear you, I'm here for you. And then you listen, and then whatever comes up. And whenever you're ready, you release that. But how do you release? And so that's the question. One of the best ways that I learned from my mentor, he says, every time you eat a really good meal and you finish the meal, you push the plate on the side and you go, that was a really good meal. or you're done with work and you go, that was great. So the breath, they say the breath is the link between your conscious and the unconscious mind. So if you release with the breath, you go with that, and then you move certain way, you're really going to spiral upwards and to start to change your state. Not to try, but really to do so.
Awesome. Totally forget. And I had so many squirrels running across while you were talking about that. One of the things is that I've learned when I first wake up in the morning, before I do anything, and I know it's time to get up, I will tell myself, today is Tuesday, March 28th. It's going to be an awesome day. And then, sometimes you wake up, your body is physically moving, but it is all that slumped down and you're not awake. Your brain is still on the pillow. And I've done things where I'm like, okay, this is dangerous. I'm probably going to walk into a wall if I don't wake up. And I will do a combination. I'll stand up and I will exaggerate my expression. I'll be like, awesome. It's going to be a great day. And the energy shift that you feel right away is weird. And my wife walked in on me one time and I'm like, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's going to be a great day. Right, honey? But it helps to, again, reach in and jumpstart that energy. Whereas so many of us, and I was guilty of it for years, walking around and you just tell yourself, oh, I'm not ready for this day. I need some coffee. I got to sit down and I need more coffee. This is going to be a long day. Well, yeah, you wonder why your day was so flipping long and you were so tired all day. And thanks for reestablishing or reaffirming the questioning affirmations during a power pose. Yeah. And being a hugaholic helps also. And being childish, that childish energy. Yesterday, I'm in Sam's Club, and there's one lady at checkout now that we've built rapport, and she's confirmed she's a hugaholic, and both of us are great huggers. And well, yesterday she was at the door doing the final scan off of the everything, and I'm like, oh, there you are, okay, and hugged, and the lady behind goes, so you know each other? And I go, no, we just met. I'm really a hugger. Do you need a hug? And she goes, yeah, I do. And I came over and gave her a big hug, and she goes, you're a great hugger. And the lady that works there,
He
is
goes,
like,
yeah, I get that a lot.
yeah, the lady goes, yeah, he is. Well, the lady behind, we ended up chatting all the way out into the parking lot. And she's like, God, thank you. I really needed that today. And I went, you know what? So did I. And sometimes it can be just as random as, I don't know her name. We shared 5 minutes of my entire life together, but you can see the energy that still comes out of it. Just that random, not being afraid to be a little kid-like and having some fun and joke and laugh and sharing hugs, and yeah. And one of my squirrels just told me that I didn't address the other question. Oh, okay. He brought it back to me. When the negative Nancy shows up and no, I'm not talking about anybody named Nancy, just negative Nancy. So Nancy, stop typing. Negative Norma, and I'm not talking about Norma, shows up and all they want to do is complain. One thing that I learned is I'll ask them, out of curiosity, are you looking for someone to offer help, or do you just need to talk? And a lot of times they'll be like, I just need to talk. And you're like, okay. And that allows you to open up almost like the toilet. Yes. Then if all you need is a place to dump, don't dump on me. I'm here to listen. Allow all that energy to go right into the toilet. And when they leave, remember to flush. Wipe the energy off from you, any that got on there. Do a power pose with a questioning affirmation is, why am I able to get right back to my amazing, awesome, happy, cool day? And wish them all the love, and hopefully they got all of that stuff out of their system and they can move on and have a better day. Does that help? And that leaves us with 17 minis on the second hour. Was there anything else that you were looking for out of those questions or answers, Fran?
I think also it would be helpful to have a bit of a shield against the barrage of all the negative complaints and talk, especially when it goes on, and because you're a friend, you don't really want to just walk away. I actually had to walk out of the room because of the barrage of it. I honor her need to vent, because she really needed somebody that she could just go for, and like you say, open the toilet and let her go. But it was affecting me, and I wanted to make sure that I gave her the space because she's a special person. But I didn't want, I reached overflow myself. And I was also angry that she brought that energy to this occasion, which I was disappointed in myself about. I didn't look after me enough. I didn't feel I needed to put layers of protection on me when I'm with my dear friends. And actually I did. You have a confused look. Am I not explaining myself?
Oh, no, I'm waiting for other people because I've got an answer to that one too.
You can go first.
Oh, no.
Okay. Anybody else want to go? I know I was chomping at the bit. So two things that I like to do is, especially because I find myself that I can go into events that I don't really want to be in. And I will do my best to set it ahead of time. And I will think, people being in alignment or whatever intention you want to set it for. Hopefully everybody has a great time. And then I will also do a protection with color around myself. But now you can also add that protection. You can add a suit of armor. You can make it a protection bubble. You can make whatever you want, but also craft it with, I find crafting it with metals is very helpful. And then also with other textures. So I will even craft it with rubber and with mirrors. So that way things that come in will not quite literally come in. They will hit the barrier. They'll reflect back to them. And only that way it will absorb the good. So you can do this with colors. You can do it with metals. You can do it quite literally against your body. You can do it in a sphere, whatever you like. It's your oyster, and make it as fun and delicious as you want. Those are the things that I do before. And then if I need to, which I have done many a time, I will go to the bathroom and I will do the whole thing to reinforce it, and I will even do not quite gray room, but if you kind of energetically clear yourself and get it off your body and reset again. Those are some things that are very, very helpful when you're in it or when you're going into it.
That's really useful. Thank you, Lenora. I definitely hadn't set it up beforehand. I thought with my dear friends, you can be open, you can be vulnerable. You don't need to look after yourself because you're in a safe place. But yes, I did. And I love your protection being metal or rubber or whatever, but there's also, you've reminded me of some things that I've used before. I don't know if you remember at school with biology classes and learning how plants gain nutrients and the process of osmosis, that, with osmosis, you can take in what you like or what you need and not take in what you don't need. So if you actually create this semi-permeable membrane around yourself, and all the good stuff can come in, but not the stuff you don't want, and that will just flow on by. So thank you for giving me that tool. I really appreciate that. And reminding me that even with really close friends that you feel safe with, it's a good idea to set it up beforehand. Good plan. Thank you.
Sabo.
Just really quick. I was driving on a highway and there was a sign that said, if you see something, say something. And it just reminded me that one time when it was about 10 years ago, this good friend of mine, now we're really good friends. At the time we were kind of getting to know each other. His name is Brent, and he also owns a car dealership, and his car dealership was right next to mine. And towards the end of the shift, it was getting dark, and you guys might know how in California the weather just goes from when the sun goes down, it just kind of drops 20 degrees fast. And I was outside, I was talking to Brent, and it was really interesting. We were talking about some business plans and some car auctions, etc. But at one point, coming from Southern Europe, Mediterranean place, I just started to feel really cold. And then Brent kept talking, and he just didn't notice how cold I was, but yet I wasn't communicating to him because I was being just agreeable, and I just wanted this moment I didn't want to ruin the moment, sort of speaking, because we had a great conversation. And then I got really cold, and at one point I said, "Hey, I'm getting really cold." And he said, "Well, yeah, let's catch tomorrow. Let's go and get lunch or whatever." But then I went home, and then I got cold. I was cold for like 2 days. I was sick. I had runny nose, and that really reminded me of not just how important it is to protect yourself or create filters and shields from people that you don't care, for people who might bring you some sort of negative energy, but also being able to know yourself, because in any interaction, I believe that it's not how we see, it's not what is, but how we see what is. And I think you have the most power to both bless yourself and damage yourself. So from that experience, I learned to, if I see something or I feel something, I say something. And then the question is, when do you say something, Savo? And then my answer to that, because I speak to myself quite a bit, my answer was, well, immediately, as soon as you hear it.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
No,
Appreciate it.
it's true. Yes, you're welcome.
That reminds me of a rocket scientist that I heard speaking once about, if you see something, say something, because other people may not have noticed, and it may be something really important that other people either hadn't had the courage to say, "Hey, you've forgotten this really important thing." And when it comes to rocket science, well, it can be kind of disastrous, especially if people are involved in a launch of a live rocket, and people don't like to speak up. So actually speaking up is something that we all need to remember to do much more. Have other people got ways of speaking up when you don't want to point out that something important's been forgotten by perhaps somebody that you admire or you think knows more than you, but you've noticed that something's not right? How do you do that?
Lenora.
It was coincidental. I actually wanted to say something. I again, when I was in my 20s, I was very, very naive, and I thought that I would get to this destination of where everything would then just fit, and then I'd be there and I wouldn't have anything to worry about. It keeps coming up that it's a lifelong journey. So understanding how to set your own boundaries, which I had none but before any of this kind of work, understanding how to step away from other people and to say, okay, we're and to quite literally speak up for myself in whatever situation it was. So I find that it to be techniques that I can learn along the way, but that it is something that I might never be 100% at, but I'm a lot better than what I was. So understanding that it's an evolution, and that with each new interaction, you're getting the opportunity to set that boundary, or to speak up for yourself, or see something and say something, or to then say, you know what, we might not be able to be close friends anymore. And whether you say that verbally to them or it happens naturally over time, I kind of just have leveled it out to the evolution of self, and everything is ever evolving. And I think even I drink a lot of tea, Fran, and I love these because they're like fortune cookies. And the one that I had today said, the only constant is change. I find that to be true.
And a tough one that I had to learn was the quote that not all of our acquaintances and friends were put into our lives to be there permanently. Some come for a few minutes, some for a few years, and very few for a lifetime. But we get something from all of them. And one of my squirrels delivered from the comedian side of me a little thing of this negative energy that was being spewed out. Part of the problem is we don't see the energy visibly. If we could see it, it would be much easier to sidestep or see how much had accumulated, or it's much easier to deal with it that way. And of course, with my earlier metaphor of the toilet, the comedian in me is like, I would start analyzing, like, what did you digest that all of this is coming out of you? Oh, corn. Oh, look at there. And yeah, yeah, that was raw soup. That was bad sushi. Oh yeah. And I would do that just for the comedian part of me to be able to picture what is flowing out of their mouth that needs to go, yeah, right to the, we're just going to call it the throne to keep this PG-PC. But it'd be another way of, as you envision what is coming out, what is being said, and give it more, dare I say, texture, it's much easier to realize that it's not about you. It's not meant for you, even though you are in the vicinity and the, well, just like you deal with fire hoses. When there's a certain amount of pressure, you don't want to be in front of it. No, but you have equipment for it, and you can put up a barrier. And even in training, if a hose gets wild and you can't shut it off, you have ways of having somebody jump on the hose to make sure that it doesn't hurt anybody. So if that person, again, whether you ask them directly or not, are you telling me this stuff because you want input and help with it? Or are you simply here to empty the tank? Are you just here to vent and get the energy out of you? If so, I'm just going to shut up, and I'm going to open the toilet, and I'm going to watch the flow come from out of thee and into here. And when you leave the house, next time, flush before you get here, and bring me something better than thy shice. But as soon as they leave, do a wash down, do a flush, scrub the bowl, spray a little spritzer, and figure out what energy you need to be able to clean the area and sanitize it so that you don't have to walk around smelling like their energy.
This so much comes down to preparation. So I'm going to throw another question out to you. When you're caught by surprise and all of a sudden it's all over you, what then?
Remind yourself it's not your energy. Unless they specifically are attacking you personally, it's not about you. It's something that they experienced and you got in the way. Elijah?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Fran.
Yes.
I would ask myself the same question that I've been asking myself a lot more often recently being last year and a half or so. Who are you? Right? And then I would ask the follow-up question, which is, no. I mean, who are you really? Right? And I say it that way. Really? Okay. I think you would agree, like most people do, that what makes you uniquely different as a person compared to all the other creatures is that you have the ability to choose. As a human being, you have the ability to choose, right? What you do and where you get, like, you know, you have that conscience or conscientiousness or whatever the word is, right? That the no disrespect to any of the animals, but the lower forms don't have, right? And who you are is a result of all those choices that you've made moment to moment, all the way from way back when you started up until now. So if things are not the way you want them to be, then who are you? Who is the you that's making the decisions that's led to the point where you didn't want to be? And who ought you to become to make those decisions in a different way so that you can be who you really want to be and get everything you want the way you want it? Because another way of saying it is kind of what TJ said a moment ago, is that it's not all about you. That's the wonderful thing, right? There's the dude who's I forget his name, but he wrote the Yoga Sutras, and he said the way to enlightenment is to hold two contradictory beliefs in mind at the same time and allow a higher order to emerge. So the two contradictory things are, at least this is where I am on my journey at this moment. One, it's all about me. And two, it has absolutely nothing to do with me. Right? If you take a moment to meditate on that, just think about it, consider those things. Who will you be then? That's very good. So I'm done now. I know we ran over. I'm sorry, TJ, but I had to say that before the end, you know. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And you know, some kids we just allow, because we got to get them recorded. And I know that the people on YouTube can't see the comments also. And so Guada added, any confusion of responsibility and ownership in our lives is a problem of boundaries. So she suggested a book. Here's a book I've listened to at least once and still working through another book, Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and John Townsend. So there's that. And unfortunately, I always try to hold this to 2 hours because I want to respect your time and everybody else that's watching. And I say it every single time. Time is the only thing I can't give back to you. So for you guys to take that very, very precious commodity and share it here each week, and allowing us to go 65 episodes. Thank you so much. I truly, truly appreciate every one of you. And I pray that there's something in here each week that is of value to you and that you can share with others. Share these videos. They're free, they're out there, they're on YouTube. And for those of you that are watching the recording, thank you for watching all the way to the end. As always, click the subscribe button, ring the bell, please leave comments. I'm so looking forward to seeing you all again in 7 days. Make them awesome and go out now and be nice to each other and enjoy life. Love you all.
Good night, TJ. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, TJ.